I'm now delighted to introduce this year's commencement speaker, Al Wilson. Mr. Wilson is the founder and executive director of Beyond Walls, a placemaking initiative in the great city of Lynn. Al is no stranger to public higher education and is a graduate of Massasoit Community College and also Westfield State University. Al was the catalyst behind the Beyond Walls initiative after he witnessed the revitalization of the once dilapidated neighborhood of Wynwood, Miami. Created in 2016, Beyond Walls uses installations of art and culture to foster a more livable, safe, economically viable, sustainable, and equitable community. Projects include the installation of over 400 linear feet of dynamic LED lighting, and underneath 3 MBTA underpasses, the exhibition of 12 vintage neon art pieces, the installation of 15 large-scale murals, and placement of a restored 1942 General Electric jet engine as a sculpture in the downtown. His award-winning vision for Lynn has created tangible, collaborative change that is putting the city on the map as never before imagined. I can't wait to hear more about his story and his words of wisdom for our class of 2018. Please welcome the 2018 commencement speaker, Al Wilson.
Well, I want to give Danny another round of applause. That was Well, thank you, President Gentile, board members, esteemed alumni, and a very huge congratulations to the graduates, friends, and family of North Shore Community College, class of 2018. So, I know you all thought your tests and quizzes were behind you, but tonight we've got a pop quiz. And I'm going to do this by a show of hands. So, show of hands if North Shore Community College was your first college experience. Okay. If you worked your way through school. How about if you immigrated to the US or you're a first-generation American? Okay, now how many of you know what you want to do with your life? All right. Now it's okay. How many of you don't? There you go. Well, I can see from some of your reactions that you're still trying to figure things out, and that's okay. I decided last minute, after graduating high school, to not join the military. And I suddenly found myself trying to make a decision of what to do, and I went and attended Massasoit Community College in Brockton, Massachusetts. I worked throughout my time there as the night shift at a local convenience store, as well as delivering pizzas. And like many of you, I'm a first-generation American. So, in many ways, 22 years ago, I was where you are at today. And at the time, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I had to do something. And from community college, I went on to Westfield State, where I majored in criminal justice and communications. Love the communication courses and the criminal justice. Just didn't pursue that. And after graduation, began my career first with media companies, working with newspapers and radio stations, then moving to digital media, and then finally technology companies. And it was as a sales and operations leader, I was in the business of building really high-performing teams and chasing money. And I did this for 15 years. And I was good at it. But the thing is, it really wasn't making me happy. And in 2015, I found myself working for a Chicago-based startup, overseeing teams in 6 cities. Most weeks saw me flying around the country, visiting local offices, working with their staff. And it was a trip to Miami where I found Wynwood and really found a passion for what I wanted to pursue. So Wynwood was a former industrial-zoned warehouse district where in 2009, a private landowner invited in these top street artists from around the globe to put up giant pieces of art on his warehouse walls. And the art was such a hit that in 2010, he formed a committee. They landscaped the space, they whitewashed the walls, they invited in all new artists to put up new giant pieces of art. And this became an annual event. So with making it an annual event, other artists would approach other area landowners and ask if they could put up a piece in the hopes of receiving a formal invitation the following year. Each year, more and more visitors came to Wynwood. And they came to see the art, but also these cafes, restaurants, all sorts of bars, really cool businesses started popping up. And what started as first a city block and then 2 city blocks ultimately became 4 city blocks. And then by the time I discovered it in 2015, it was now 8 city blocks of art with cafes on every corner and a mix of market rate and subsidized housing going up all throughout the district, with tons of bustling cafes on every corner, and just a really cool scene. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and I started then looking at street art in all my travels, and began sort of looking at the history of Wynwood, exploring the use of art and culture to improve economic conditions and the opportunity to re-engage longtime residents. So, through my business experience, I'd always found that I'd refined an ability to figure out what was working in one market and then bringing it to another. And I knew Lynn is this amazing city. It was a city that, through soccer, I was able to connect with many of the powerhouse Dominican, Puerto Rican, Greek, Cambodian, Eastern European players that came out of this city. And I knew it had these great potential canvases for art, giant buildings. And I couldn't really shake this feeling that I was in some way meant to leave what I was doing and pursue an effort to help Lynn. So I left everything behind. And again, I'm 22 years from your seat today. So it was a challenge to leave the pay, to leave that expense account, to leave an apartment in Manhattan that was paid for, to pursue this. But it was something that I knew I loved Lynn, and I knew there was a team of volunteers that were incredible in Lynn that wanted to get behind this. So we all started working together to use art and culture and use the creative economy to showcase the city. We had dozens of meetings with Lynn residents and business owners. We saw and heard a real need for public art, and people certainly realized that art could be the catalyst for increased foot traffic, more eyes on the street to increase safety, and that there would be a great deal of commerce generated from this. For safety reasons, business owners and residents also wanted to see lighting, and we were able to quickly start raising money from foundations and individuals. We voted on it and became Beyond Walls, a nonprofit in Lynn. And so last summer, we partnered with the local painters union, DC 35, to prime walls, and invited in 20 renowned artists into the city, artists that reflected the cultural identities of Lynn, and they installed 15 large pieces of art, all in the span of 10 days. So we attracted over 75 pieces of media coverage, articles in the Boston Globe, North Shore Magazine, tons of radio interviews, and news reports on local TV stations. We generated 4.5 million social media impressions. The TV show Chronicle came to Lynn and did an entire show on what was happening in our city. The Beyond Walls Festival was such a hit, mom and pop stores reported massive increases in business, restaurants, both during and after the festival. So as I worked to drum up interest on the Mural Festival, you end up doing this work, you meet really interesting characters. And one of the characters happened to be one of the foremost collectors of vintage neon, so old neon signs, one of the biggest collectors on the East Coast. And after the festival, we took possession of 12 of these pieces. We installed these around the city, and they cast an awful lot of light. So this has been a big hit, and again, this is something that increases the safety. I'd also been working on attracting GE to get behind us on donated lighting for some bridges. And I had to go in through GE Aviation. And whenever you're asking for favors, you gotta ask for a strong ask. And I didn't really know what to ask for, but I knew that GE in 1942 was the first US manufacturer of a jet engine. So I asked for one. Absolutely never thought they'd give me one. But they gave us one, and it's been amazing. We reached out to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum to find out how we could work with this engine. They did not believe we had it, so we had to send them proof. We sent a photo, we sent an email, the phone immediately rang, and this head curator of the Smithsonian said, "What are you doing with that thing?" Directed us, and we ended up using Lynn Technical Institution as well as Harvard Conservators to help guide us here. We brought it into a condition fit for install, and we're going to install it later this summer. It's pretty cool. So the largest project we've undertaken is the lighting of 3 bridges in downtown Lynn. And the feedback from residents and certainly data from the state confirmed that these underpasses were often the site of crime, as well as vehicle and pedestrian strikes. We began calling an awful lot of architects, engineers, lighting manufacturers, and installers trying to seek out pro bono help. We got an awful lot of no's, but we also got some yeses, and we ultimately received $214,000 worth of donated hardware from Philips, and an amazing amount of in-kind support, again from a union, IBEW 103, the local electricians union, who offered to do this install. And this is dynamic lighting, so this actually responds to the train going overhead. It actually becomes brighter when the train goes overhead. It can do every color spectrum, so you can have this rainbow effect, waves of green for St. Patrick's, or red, white, and blue. It responds to music, so it'll pick up the beat. It also, you can tweet at it, change the color. Pretty cool system. And we're gonna light up all 3 bridges next month. So the work, right? The work's really hard. This is the hardest job I've ever had by far. It's crazy long hours. The pay's not good in arts. If you're thinking of going into the arts, it can be very satisfying, but pay's not one of those features. But I love it, and I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. But I'm going to continue doing what I love, and we're launching a second festival. All new artists coming in to put up all new walls. They're coming from around the globe, as well as regional and local parties in August. I can't wait to see what the future holds there. So you're graduating at a phenomenal time, right? But whether you pursue your careers now or continue your education, I wish you the best of luck in all you do. Please know that you can veer off your career track at any time. You can follow a passion project to see where it takes you. You can lean on your education at North Shore Community College throughout this time, your training that you get hereafter, and it'll help you in a wide range of fields. Please don't be afraid to take a break or to follow a different path. You can test yourself. It's okay to be afraid, to question whether you really know what you're doing, and to learn as you go. Just don't stand still. Keep moving, pushing, asking questions, and trying. And if you can do that, I know you'll be successful in every aspect of your life. But what's perhaps more important, you'll be happy doing it. Thank you so much.